I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered. The Sunday brunch at Bellini's was Hailey's idea. My sister always picked places with perfect lighting for her Instagram. I sat quietly at the end of the table, wearing my simple blue cardigan while Hailey and her influencer friends clinked mimosa glasses. When the conversation turned to fashion, Hailey's eyes landed on me with that familiar glint. Olivia, she's basically a charity case. She shops like it's 2010. Hailey's laugh sparkled like her diamond earrings. Sometimes I considered giving her some of my used clothes, but they might even be above her class. Her friends giggled behind manicured hands. I felt my cheeks burn hot as I stared at my untouched avocado toast. The worst part wasn't the insult. It was how casually she tossed it out, how little my feelings mattered. When the check came, I grabbed it quickly. "I've got this," I said, sliding my credit card into the leather folder. Hailey's eyebrows shot up. "Are you sure you can afford the check? We know you're broke. I don't mind handling it." I just smiled weakly and signed the receipt, adding a generous tip. Then I walked out, my eyes stinging with tears I refused to let fall. Outside, the bright sunshine felt like an insult. People walked by laughing, enjoying their perfect Sunday. I leaned against a brick wall, taking deep breaths. This wasn't the first time Hailey had humiliated me, but something felt different today. Maybe it was the look in her eyes, not just teasing, but dismissive. Like I wasn't worth considering as a real person with real feelings. My hands trembled as I called a rideshare home, determined that someday, somehow, Hailey would see me for who I really was. 3 years earlier, my world had collapsed in less than 24 hours. My startup Dream Data was supposed to be my big break. Jake and I had been college friends with a shared vision, making data analytics accessible to small businesses. I'd poured my entire savings into it, working 80-hour weeks while living on ramen. Then came that terrible Tuesday morning. I logged into our company account, expecting to review our quarterly numbers. Instead, I found a zero balance. Every penny, gone. Jake's phone went straight to voicemail. His apartment was already empty. By nightfall, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by final notice bills. My laptop dinged with an email from our lawyer. "I'm sorry, Olivia. He cleaned you out. Legally, it's murky at best." I didn't cry. Instead, I opened a fresh Google Doc and titled it Plan B. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, shaking slightly, before I typed the first bullet point. 1. Survive. I may have lost everything, but I wasn't finished, not by a long shot. The next morning, I walked to the corner cafe where I usually grabbed coffee. The barista, Zoe, took one look at my face and pushed a free espresso across the counter. "Bad day?" she asked, voice gentle. "Bad year," I replied, attempting a smile. "My business partner stole everything and disappeared." "Need a job? We're hiring," she offered. I shook my head. "I need 3 jobs, actually." She scribbled something on a napkin, a phone number. "My cousin manages a restaurant downtown. They always need servers." That napkin became my first lifeline. I folded it carefully into my wallet, next to my nearly maxed-out credit card. Rock bottom looked a lot like this. Broke, betrayed, and borrowing caffeine. But something inside me had hardened. I had trusted too easily before. I wouldn't make that mistake again. My new routine was brutal but necessary. I woke at 5 a.m. for my administrative assistant job at a dental office. From 6 p.m. to midnight, I waited tables at a steakhouse downtown. Weekends were for freelance data analysis, small gigs I found online, anything to rebuild my savings. My tiny studio apartment became just a place to shower and sleep. Dark circles took up permanent residence under my eyes. My social life vanished. While friends posted vacation photos, I was lucky to catch 4 hours of sleep. One Tuesday night, I nearly collapsed during my restaurant shift. My manager, Rita, pulled me aside. "You're killing yourself, Liv," she said, pressing a cup of coffee into my hands. "I don't have a choice," I whispered. "Everyone has choices. Just make sure you're not choosing slow suicide." That night, I landed a contract with a healthcare nonprofit. It wasn't glamorous work, cleaning up their patient satisfaction data, but they agreed to pay monthly. It was my first glimpse of stability, a tiny light at the end of my tunnel. I pinned the contract to my wall, proof that I was climbing, inch by painful inch. My routine became mechanical. Every dollar I earned was carefully tracked. Morning, file dental records. Evening, deliver steaks to customers who spent more on wine than I made in a week. Late night, crunch numbers until my vision blurred. I kept a jar on my kitchen counter labeled Comeback Fund. Every tip, every bonus, every extra penny went inside. 1 month turned into 6. The jar filled slowly. The nonprofit client became a regular, then referred me to others. I built a spreadsheet tracking my growing client base, color-coding them by reliability and payment speed. My body ached constantly, but my mind stayed sharp, focused on a single goal. Never be vulnerable again. Never trust the wrong person. Never lose everything a second time. While I counted pennies, Hailey's star soared. Her Instagram followers multiplied daily. Luxury brands sent her free clothes, makeup, even vacations. Her feed was a carefully curated fantasy. Sunset yoga in Bali, cocktails in Mykonos, designer shopping sprees in Milan. "Your sister's doing so well," Mom would say during our weekly calls, her voice bright with pride. "Did you see she's partnered with that luxury sunglasses brand?" "That's great, Mom," I'd reply, not mentioning I was working through dinner again. It's not that Mom loved Hailey more, she worried about me more. Hailey was thriving, at least on the surface, while I was rebuilding from ashes. Mom didn't know about Jake's betrayal. I couldn't bear to disappoint her. The final twist of the knife came when Hailey landed a 6-figure contract with Luxe Beauty. Her face appeared on billboards downtown. I had to pass one every day on my commute, her perfect smile looming 20 feet tall, a constant reminder of everything I wasn't. Yet I never resented her success. I just wished she could see me, really see me beneath my struggles. Every morning, I'd walk past that enormous billboard on my way to the dental office. There was Hailey, impossibly perfect, selling expensive face cream to women who dreamed of looking just like her. Sometimes I'd stop and stare up at it, wondering if my sister ever thought about me while jet-setting around the world. At family gatherings, aunts and uncles would cluster around Hailey, asking about her glamorous life while I refilled water glasses and cleared plates. "When are you going to get a real career like your sister?" one uncle asked me over Thanksgiving dinner. I smiled tightly and said I was working on it. If only they knew how hard I was actually working, not for fame or followers, but simply to survive and someday thrive again. I didn't need billboards. I just needed security and the quiet satisfaction of rebuilding what I'd lost. What nobody saw, not even her 1,000,000 followers, was how lonely Hailey really was. I discovered this by accident one night when she pocket-dialed me. I answered, but she didn't realize I was listening. "It's exhausting," I heard her say to someone. "Everyone wants something. The perfect angle, the perfect caption. I haven't eaten carbs in 2 years." I almost hung up, feeling like an intruder, when she continued. "Olivia doesn't get it. She thinks I have it easy." I did hang up then, a strange mix of emotions washing over me. Was it possible my sister, with her seemingly perfect life, envied my authenticity? Later that week, she posted photos from a champagne brunch at a rooftop bar. Her caption read, "Work hard, travel harder, blessed girl boss." But I couldn't help wondering about the reality behind the filter. That night, she received a message from an old college friend. "Are you actually happy, Hailey?" I'll never know if she responded. But something tells me the answer wasn't Instagram-worthy. 2 days later, I spotted Hailey at a coffee shop downtown. I almost didn't recognize her. No makeup, hair pulled back, hunched over her laptop. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way her glossy online persona never allowed. I watched her from outside the window as she stared at her screen, absently stirring her coffee. For a moment, I considered going in to say hello. But just then, she straightened up, fixed her face into that familiar, dazzling smile, and took a selfie with her latte. The mask slipped back on so seamlessly it made me wonder if I'd imagined the flicker of unhappiness. I walked away unseen, realizing that perhaps we were both hiding, me behind my exhausting work schedule, her behind perfectly edited photos. 2 sisters, living completely different lives, both feeling misunderstood in our own ways. With $5,000 saved from my 3 jobs, I decided to try again. No partners this time. No fancy offices. Just me, my laptop, and the lessons Jake's betrayal had burned into my soul. I registered Lyra Analytics for my kitchen table, working on my business plan between shifts. I built my website at 2 a.m., eyes burning from exhaustion. But this time, I moved cautiously. Every client, Every contract was thoroughly vetted. My first real break came by complete chance. Standing in the rain waiting for a rideshare, I found myself beside a woman frantically trying to make sense of some data on her phone. "Sorry," she said, noticing me glance over. "Financial report disaster. Board meeting tomorrow." I took a chance. "I'm a data analyst," I said, offering her my hastily made business card. "I could help tonight if you need it." 12 hours later, her company, MetaTrust Healthcare, became Lyra's first major client. Her testimonial brought 3 more clients by the end of the week. I didn't post about it on social media. I didn't need likes or shares. The numbers in my business account spoke louder than any selfie could. Hailey's downfall began with a hashtag. Fake influencer started trending after a watchdog account exposed several social media stars for buying followers. Her name appeared prominently on the list. "They analyzed my growth patterns," she sobbed over the phone. "They're saying I purchased 50,000 followers from bot farms." I wanted to ask if it was true, but her crying told me everything. Instead, I said, "It'll blow over, Hailey." But it didn't. Brands became wary. Comment sections filled with snake emojis. Her posts, once guaranteed to get thousands of likes within minutes, barely broke 3 digits. "It's not fair," she kept saying. "Everyone does it. Why am I being singled out?" I didn't have an answer. The social media world that had lifted her so high was now determined to watch her fall. The same followers who had once worshipped her now delighted in her humiliation. Watching from afar, I felt a strange mix of sympathy and vindication. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because reality was finally breaking through her perfect facade. Within 2 months, Hailey's life unraveled completely. Luxe Beauty dropped her. Then Sunset Swimwear. Then all the others, dominoes falling in quick succession. Her agent stopped returning calls. "They're saying I faked testimonials too," she admitted during a rare moment of honesty. "That I never used the products I endorsed." Her rent on her luxury apartment went unpaid. Her leased Mercedes was repossessed. Designer clothes, her prized possessions, started appearing for sale on her private Instagram story. I offered to help, but my sister's pride was still intact, even if nothing else was. "I'm fine," she insisted, "just restructuring my brand." But I knew the truth when a mutual friend texted me, "Have you talked to Hailey? She seems off." Later that week, I noticed her selling the Gucci bag she'd once bragged was absolutely essential for any serious influencer. The caption read, "Moving to a minimalist aesthetic. DM for price." The emperor had no clothes, and everyone could finally see it. Reality crashed down on Hailey when she received an eviction notice. She called me at midnight, her voice small and broken in a way I'd never heard before. "I can't pay my rent," she admitted, the words seeming to physically hurt her. "They're giving me 3 days to vacate." I took a deep breath. "You can stay with me," I offered, though my studio barely had room for a futon. "No," she said quickly. Too quickly. "I'll figure it out." The next day she called our mother. I wasn't supposed to know about it, but Mom called me right after, worried. "Hailey's moving home for a while," she said. I suggested she look for a job with her marketing degree. I could almost hear Hailey's reaction. An actual job? With a boss? For someone who had branded herself as a #girlboss entrepreneur, working for someone else would be the ultimate defeat. But defeat was coming, whether she was ready or not. That night, according to Mom, Hailey created a LinkedIn profile for the first time since college graduation. The golden child was finally facing the real world. Lyra Analytics had grown steadily over the past year. We had 15 employees, a modest office downtown, and a reputation for solid work. I remained deliberately anonymous as the founder, letting our results speak instead. I was reviewing quarterly projections when HR forwarded a resume that made my coffee go cold. Hailey Reid had applied for our creative director position. My first instinct was to reject it immediately. But something stopped me. Her qualifications were actually decent. Marketing degree, experience crafting messages that resonated with audiences, an understanding of trends and analytics from her influencer days. "Did you Google her?" I asked Mia in HR. "She has a huge social media presence," Mia confirmed, or had. "Seems there was some controversy." I nodded slowly, an idea taking shape. "Set up an interview." Mia looked surprised. "Really? Her resume has some gaps." "Everyone deserves a second chance," I said quietly. "Just don't mention who the CEO is." Was it manipulation? Maybe. but I called it an opportunity for both of us. Hailey's first day at Lyra was carefully orchestrated. I arranged to be traveling during her orientation week. The management team knew my plan and played along perfectly. From the security camera feed in my office, I watched my sister enter our building, looking both nervous and determined. Gone were the designer clothes, replaced by a sensible black blazer and minimal makeup. Her hair, once highlighted and styled daily, was pulled back in a simple ponytail. The onboarding team welcomed her with professional courtesy, walking her through the office layout, company policies, and her role expectations. "When will I meet the CEO?" I heard her ask. "Miss Reed travels frequently," they explained. "She reviews everything remotely, but isn't often in the office." I watched Hailey nod, absorbing the company values painted on our main wall. Let results speak. Build, don't brag. Substance over style. These weren't just corporate slogans. They were the principles I'd lived by while rebuilding my life. Everything that conflicted with Hailey's influencer philosophy. As she settled into her new desk, I wondered, could she adapt to a world where likes and comments didn't matter? The first week was rough for Hailey. She struggled with our project management software. During team meetings, she spoke too loudly, interrupted often, and referenced her influencer experience at every opportunity, only to be met with polite but unmoved expressions. "We're data-driven here," explained Terrence, her direct supervisor. "Engagement metrics need to translate to actual business outcomes." I observed silently through meeting recordings. Hailey's frustration was visible as she realized her social media clout meant nothing here. She was starting from scratch, with teammates who valued substance over style. During lunch, she sat alone, picking at a sad-looking salad. I overheard a nearby conversation. "Is that the new creative director?" someone whispered. "Yeah, apparently she was some big deal online." "Well, this isn't Instagram. Don't expect special treatment just because she had followers." I watched Hailey's face fall slightly. For the first time in her adult life, she was completely ordinary. No filters, no adoring fans, just expectations to meet and work to deliver. The question was, would she rise to the challenge or crash and burn? 2 weeks in, Hailey faced her first real test. Her initial campaign proposal was rejected during the team review. It's too focused on visual appeal without addressing the client's actual business problem. Terrence explained, his tone professional but firm. "We need substance, not just style." The old Hailey would have argued, offended by any criticism. This Hailey just nodded stiffly, lips pressed together. After the meeting, I received her feedback form. The comments were direct but fair, outlining specific improvements needed. I approved it, curious how she would respond. That evening, security footage showed Hailey working late, surrounded by crumpled paper and empty coffee cups. At 10 p.m., she drafted an email with resignation in the subject line. My heart sank as I read it. "I appreciate the opportunity, but don't believe I'm a good fit." But she never sent it. Instead, she deleted the draft, rubbed her eyes, and opened a fresh document titled Campaign Revision. She worked until midnight. For the first time, I saw something new in my sister. Determination in the face of failure. No audience was watching. No likes were at stake. Just her own pride and the challenge before her. Something shifted in Hailey after that night. She arrived first each morning, coffee already brewed for the team. She stayed late, combing through old case studies and client briefs. During lunch breaks, she quietly approached different team members, asking thoughtful questions about their processes. "She's really trying," Mia reported during our weekly HR check-in. "Asked me to recommend books on data-driven marketing." Watching from afar, I felt an unexpected pride blooming. This wasn't the Hailey who needed constant validation. This was someone I'd never seen before. Someone willing to rebuild from scratch. In team meetings, she spoke less but listened more. Her notes were comprehensive. When she did contribute, her points were increasingly relevant. "The algorithm changes might affect our clients' engagement," she noted once, impressing even Terrence. "We should prepare alternative approaches." Meanwhile, rumors about the mysterious CEO continued. I overheard Hailey asking casually in the break room, "Has anyone actually met her in person?" "She built this place from nothing." Someone replied, "Started it from her kitchen table after some personal setback. Very private person." Hailey nodded thoughtfully. unaware how close she was to the truth. After a month at Lyra, Hailey presented her revised campaign to the team. The difference was remarkable. Her proposal now included clear metrics, targeted messaging, and a focused problem-solving approach. The visuals support the strategy rather than replacing it, she explained, confidently navigating through her slides. When she finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then Terrence nodded, the closest thing to approval in our company culture. Better, he said simply. Much better. It wasn't effusive praise, but Hailey beamed as if she'd won an award. Later that day, I approved her access to additional company resources, a quiet acknowledgement of her progress. That evening, she stayed late again, but not because she was struggling. She was exploring our client database, familiarizing herself with past projects, absorbing the company's approach. Meanwhile, I found myself searching for traces of the old Hailey on social media. Her accounts remained dormant, a ghost town of fading glamour shots and promotional posts. No new content, no carefully staged photos. It was as if that version of my sister had vanished completely. Or maybe, just maybe, she was evolving into something more substantial. 6 weeks into Hailey's employment, I scheduled a company-wide virtual town hall. As always, I participated by voice only, sharing quarterly results and upcoming initiatives. From my private office, I watched Hailey's reaction on the conference room camera. She sat up straighter during my presentation, her head tilted slightly. Lastly, I said, wrapping up, I want to acknowledge the creative team's improved performance this quarter. Your adaptability has been noted. It wasn't a direct compliment to Hailey, but it included her. I saw her small smile of satisfaction. When the call ended, she remained seated, a furrow between her brows. I could almost see her mind working, connecting dots. Something about the CEO's voice seems familiar, she mentioned casually to a coworker. Has she been with the company long? Since day one, they replied. She is the company. Later that afternoon, I noticed Hailey lingering near the company timeline displayed in our main hallway. Her gaze fixed on the founding date, then darted to my blurry photo, the only one I'd allowed to be used publicly. Something was clicking in her mind. I could feel our inevitable collision drawing nearer. That night, Hailey had a nightmare. I know because she told her cubicle neighbor about it the next morning. Unaware, I could hear through the office monitoring system. I dreamed I was at that horrible brunch again, she confessed, voice low. You know, where I said awful things about my sister. But this time, everyone at the table turned into people from the office, and they were all staring at me like they knew. Guilty conscience? Her colleague asked with a laugh. Maybe, Hailey replied, not laughing. I said some really terrible things to her, called her a charity case, humiliated her in front of everyone. She paused, fidgeting with her pen. The worst part is, she never fought back, just smiled and paid the bill, then walked away. Her colleague looked uncomfortable. Well, that was then, right? People change. Yeah, Hailey murmured, but some things you can't take back. I sat in my office, heart pounding. For the first time, Hailey seemed truly remorseful, not because she'd been caught, but because she genuinely regretted her actions. I'd waited 3 years to hear that. Now I didn't know how to feel. The pieces fell into place for Hailey slowly, then all at once. It started with an innocent question to our office manager during a file organization project. The OR initials on these old contracts, that's the CEO, right? Has she always managed the company? Miss Reed has been the sole owner since founding, the manager replied, not realizing the significance. Nobody else could have built Lyra. I watched Hailey's expression shift on the security camera. OR Olivia Reed, her sister. The confirmation came later that day when an internal memo with my full signature landed on her desk. She stared at my name for a full minute, color draining from her face. That evening, she stayed after everyone left. I watched as she paced the empty office, stopping at the company values painted on the wall, then at the blurry founder's photo in the hallway. Oh my God, she whispered to the empty room. It's been Olivia all along. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt strangely hollow. The moment of recognition I'd imagined for so long had arrived, and it brought no satisfaction, only a quiet sadness for all the years we'd lost to pride and misunderstanding. Hailey spent the next day in visible turmoil. She kept to herself, barely spoke during meetings and jumped whenever someone approached her desk. Twice, I saw her start to write what looked like a resignation letter, only to delete it unfinished. During lunch, she sat alone in the break room, staring at her phone. I zoomed in through the security camera and saw she was looking at old photos of us from childhood, before social media, before success and failure divided us. Two girls with gap-toothed smiles, arms thrown around each other's shoulders. Later, she wandered to the company achievements wall, studying the timeline of Lyra's growth. Each milestone coincided with my personal rock bottom. When she was posting from Bali, I was securing our first major client. While she was modeling for Luxe Beauty, I was quietly building an empire. She did all this, I heard her whisper to herself, while I was calling her a failure. That afternoon, she requested a meeting with the CEO through the proper channels. The subject line read simply, "I know it's you, Olivia." It was time to end the charade. I scheduled the meeting for the following morning. The leadership conference room was silent, except for the gentle hum of air conditioning. I arrived early, settling into the chair at the head of the polished table. For the first time since Hailey joined Lyra, I wore no disguises, no excuses about traveling or meetings. At exactly 9 a.m., the door opened. Hailey stepped in, freezing when she saw me. Gone was the glamorous influencer who had once mocked my simple style. Instead, she looked small, wearing a modest black dress with minimal makeup. "Sit down, Hailey," I said quietly. She moved robotically to the nearest chair, eyes never leaving my face. "How long were you going to let me work here without telling me?" "As long as necessary," I replied evenly. "You needed to see me, the real me, without your preconceptions. You hired me knowing who I was," she whispered, "after everything I said to you." I nodded slowly. "Welcome to Lyra, Hailey." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why?" It was a simple question with a complicated answer. But looking at my sister, truly seeing her, beyond her mistakes, I finally knew why I had orchestrated this elaborate revelation. "Because we're family," I said, "and family deserves second chances." Hailey broke down completely, sobbing in front of me for the first time since we were children. Years of carefully constructed image crumbled into raw, messy emotion. "I don't deserve this job," she choked out. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was horrible to you." I watched her, keeping my expression neutral despite the turmoil inside me. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to say everything was fine, but that would be a lie. Her words had cut deep, leaving scars that still sometimes ached. "You called me a charity case," I said quietly. "You mocked me while I was working 3 jobs, trying to rebuild after losing everything." She nodded miserably, unable to look at me. "I know, I was selfish and shallow. I thought having followers made me important." "Why did you apply to Lyra?" I asked. "You didn't know it was my company." She wiped her eyes, finally meeting my gaze, because it was respected, real. Everything my life wasn't anymore. I considered this, hearing the sincerity in her voice. For perhaps the first time, Hailey was seeing herself clearly, and she didn't like what she saw. "I can't rewrite our past," I finally said, "and I won't pretend your words didn't hurt me. But what happens next is still unwritten." "So what now?" Hailey asked, her voice small and uncertain. "Are you firing me?" I leaned back in my chair studying her. "Do you want to be fired? Would that be easier?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, I want to stay. I want to earn my place here." "That's what everyone does at Lyra," I replied. "No shortcuts, no special treatment, good or bad. Your past doesn't define you here, but your work does." I stood up, straightening my blazer. "You don't get my forgiveness automatically, Hailey. You earn it the same way you'll earn respect in this company, through consistent effort and genuine growth." She nodded slowly, wiping away the last of her tears. "I understand." As I walked to the door, she called after me. "Olivia?" I turned, one eyebrow raised. "I'd like to join the community outreach team. As a volunteer, I know they're developing programs for young women from disadvantaged backgrounds." For the first time in our conversation, I felt a flicker of hope. This request wasn't about her image or her career. It was about giving back. "Submit the request through proper channels," I said, but gave her the smallest nod. "Actions speak louder than apologies, Hailey." Over the next 6 months, Hailey transformed. She arrived first each morning and often left last. Her work became thoughtful, strategic, increasingly valuable. She never mentioned our relationship to colleagues, never sought special treatment. Most surprisingly, she volunteered every Saturday at our community technology center, teaching digital skills to women from local shelters. No photos on social media, no public recognition, just quiet, consistent service. I watched from a distance, neither cold nor overly warm, professional but fair. Slowly, the wall between us began to crumble, brick by carefully removed brick. During a staff meeting, she presented a community outreach campaign that impressed even our most critical team members. When someone complimented her afterward, she responded, "It was a group effort. I just helped shape the message." That humility, so unlike the old Hailey, caught my attention. Later, reviewing the quarterly performance reports, I noticed her name appeared repeatedly in positive feedback from both clients and colleagues. "She's our hardest worker," Terrence admitted during our management review. "Whatever happened before she came here, she's proved herself now." I nodded, feeling a strange mix of pride and lingering caution. People could change, I knew that, but lasting change required time to prove itself. A year after Hailey joined Lyra, I called her into my office. She entered with the quiet confidence she'd developed, a far cry from both the arrogant influencer and the broken job applicant she'd once been. "We're promoting you to creative director," I said without preamble. "Full title, full responsibility. You've earned it." For a moment, she looked stunned. Then a smile spread across her face, not the practiced photo-ready smile of her influencer days, but something genuine and warm. "Thank you," she said simply. "I'll do my best to justify your faith in me." "It's not faith," I corrected her. "It's evidence. You've consistently demonstrated the values this company stands for." In front of the entire team that afternoon, I announced her promotion myself. "Hailey Reid has shown exceptional growth, creativity, and dedication. She represents the future leadership of Lyra." Applause filled the room. No one knew she was my sister. We'd both kept that private, but the respect in their faces was real. As the team congratulated her, I noticed something remarkable. She deflected praise to her teammates, highlighting their contributions instead of her achievement. "I don't need a spotlight," she told a colleague. "I just want to contribute something meaningful." The words echoed in my mind. My sister had truly changed. Sunday dinner at Mom's became our new tradition. The three of us gathered around the kitchen table, laughing and talking like the painful years had never happened. Mom beamed at having both her daughters together again. "I still can't believe my girls run a tech company together," she said proudly, passing the mashed potatoes. Hailey and I exchanged a smile. We never posted about our reconciliation on social media. Our healing wasn't for public consumption. Outside of family dinners, Hailey had found her calling with Lyra's mentorship program. Every week, she guided young women facing challenges similar to what I'd overcome. "Your past doesn't define your future," she would tell them, words she now lived by herself. One afternoon, I overheard a new intern confiding in Hailey. "People think I don't belong here," the young woman said, voice trembling. "My clothes aren't right. My accent's too strong. I don't fit in." Hailey's response made my heart swell. "They said that about me too," she replied gently. "Now watch me lead." Later, walking to our cars, Hailey paused. "Thank you," she said simply, "for the second chance I didn't deserve." I squeezed her hand. Everyone deserves the opportunity to become better than their worst moments. We'd both learned that the hard way. No more charity cases, just sisters, finally seeing each other clearly.